Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swagglehos. And in this video, we gotta talk about electric cars. Electric cars? Yes, that is right. Today we gotta talk about electric cars because if the comic book market were out shopping for vehicles, well, we should have all been going electric because when we take a look at some of the spec FOMO stuff that occurred after the Ant-Man 3 trailer, I gotta say, it looks like the comic book market is just a little bit out of gas. So in this video, we're gonna talk about some of the stuff coming off the trailer. We're gonna talk about some of the books that moved or didn't move out there in the market, and then kind of give my thoughts overall of what this means, for comic book spec, kind of where we are now in the recession. I kind of think that this is a good sign for us, a good thing overall for things to come. But before I get into the video, if you guys could drop me a like or comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, helps with the channel, doing those things, I would appreciate it. But let's get into this video here today. All right, we got to talk about the trailer that came out yesterday. Of course, Antman Quantumania trailer dropped. And, I got to say, just watching it, I thought the trailer was great. I love that, yes, it had its sort of, typical kind of Marvel jokes at the top, a tasteful amount, one or two little jokes up there at the front. And then for the most part, the trailer was very, very serious overall. I liked the tone. It seemed mature. It seemed like the next kind of good step for an Ant-Man film to take. We saw some awesome images of Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror right there. Of course, this is the image that, most people have been talking about. Very, very comic book accurate. I mean, they kind of did this kind of interpretation for his helmet where you have the blue kind of being projected over his face, not necessarily a mask, so to speak. But it was a really good trailer. It was an effective trailer, and it was the #1 trending thing out there in, the YouTube market overall. So, generally speaking, I think a lot of Marvel audiences really, really did enjoy what they saw. And, it's kind of interesting because typically what happens, coming off of the heels of trailers or, movie trailers or TV show trailers, we know that the comic book market absolutely loses their mind every single time. And being that this was the first time we were seeing Kang the Conqueror, kind of, indicates to me that this would have been a moment where you might have gotten a lot of FOMO buys into a book like this, Avengers #8, first appearance of Kang the Conqueror. But that was not really what the market actually did yesterday. I mean, granted, this is a expensive book, right? It is very, very difficult to FOMO into an Avengers #8. Not a lot of people have $600 or, up to, $1,500 to spend on a whim. But I would have thought there might have been just a few more buys overall. Let's kind of scroll down here and see how many of this book sold in this since the release of the trailer. And it looks like we only got 1, 2, 3 on eBay. I suppose there's one on October 23rd here. Maybe this person had some insider info knowing that the trailer was going to drop. That's very, very possible. But, generally speaking, this was a live auction, so it was going to end on this day no matter what, outside of the fact that the trailer was there, but that could have had an effect on the finishing price because $3,000 for a raw copy, assuming it is going to grade out as a VF+, is, that's quite a lot of money. I mean, I think off the top of my head, the 6.0s are sort of around the, $1,500 range. So, here's hoping that that person actually gets the grade that it's advertised for. We did get an interesting floor sale. A 0.5 grade here went for $400. So that's a pretty strong sale, I think, for that book overall. And then we got a slash price right here for an unrestored kind of raw copy, probably would grade out to be a 3.0. So maybe someone ended up buying it for around $700 or so. And this is kind of one of the things that I think is really interesting overall. It's like, yes, that is a very expensive book, hard for the market to FOMO into that, but it feels like the market didn't FOMO into a lot of books, as I'm going to talk about, very soon when we talk about some of the other interesting books that kind of relate to the trailer. But what it does kind of show me is that, I think a lot of the FOMO purchases into specifically Avengers #8 and some of the other books as well have already been done, right? We had, the Loki originally show off Jonathan Majors. We got the San Diego Comic-Con that announced Kang Dynasty. We had like some other little moments throughout, the life cycle of Kang's participation in the MCU that have created FOMO, that have created purchases for this book. And so why I actually view this as a positive thing is that even with prices correcting, we're really starting to figure out what the floor values are for a lot of books out there in the market. I think stability is a more important thing for us as comic book collectors and for us to eventually kind of, gain some value and gain some equity over the next couple years or so on these books. The volatility up, down, it's going to create too much incentive to either sell or buy, depending on, what book we're talking about. And stability is really going to be the key for kind of an organic growth overall. And so I think it's really, really a good thing that when a Kang the Conqueror image drops in Ant-Man 3 as a trailer, we don't have like an influx of, 15 Avengers number 8s being bought. Now, of course, it's possible that there were other purchases on things not like eBay, but, I don't have those numbers for you right now. So we can only speak to eBay, which, generally speaking, is the biggest market in the world. Other interesting book to kind of look at was Fantastic Four number 19. I know some of you guys out there always talk about this book being, the true first appearance of Kang. It's the Ramatut one. We didn't really get anything specific with Ramatut in the trailer, so I wouldn't expect necessarily a FOMO purchase on this thing, but we did get one sale yesterday. A 5.0 went for $500. Not too crazy overall, considering the day before we saw a 5.0 sell for $479, and the day before that we saw a 5.0 end at live auction for $417. So, generally speaking, around the same price, a little bit higher because of the excitement of the trailer. But one of the books I think is really interesting to talk about is Marvel Premiere number 47. This one, of course, is the first appearance of Scott Lang in the Ant-Man uniform. Now, Scott Lang kind of has one of those split first appearance situations. I believe it's Avengers 181, where he actually makes his first appearance as, Scott Lang, and then he might even have a couple more appearances until we get to this issue when he actually takes up the mantle of Ant-Man. But for my money, I feel like if you are somebody who is a fan of Scott Lang Ant-Man, Paul Rudd is your favorite actor or whatever the case may be, this is the book that you want to own, in my opinion. The cover is incredible, and I think that, owning the character in the costume is probably the best version that you can do for yourself. This would have been a book that I would have thought we would have seen a lot of FOMO purchases on, because it's in that budget range that is a sweet spot for a lot of people to buy into. And yes, we did have a few sales overall, but nothing quite like you would expect from people going crazy on this thing. I mean, we did have a pretty big sale in the 9.6 grade right here for $900, which, if I'm not mistaken, would actually make this the record price for this particular book in this particular grade, but it is also being advertised as a double cover, as you guys can see right there. So, kind of an anomaly number, so to speak. We got a few sales. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sales overall, not too many, kind of around that $100 price point. Here's a $174 as an 8.0. Here's an $89 one at a 5.5. This one was live auction one. So again, the market was, showed that it was excited about these books, but it didn't really have the same sort of FOMO overall. But there were some other books that are interesting to talk about. Of course, Astonishing Ant-Man number 6. This is the first appearance as Cassie Lang when she takes up the mantle of Stinger. There's also Young Avengers number 6. This is the first time that Cassie Lang takes up the mantle of Stature. So, throughout her Marvel history, Cassie Lang, of course, the daughter of Scott Lang Ant-Man, she made her appearance in the trailer. Cassie Lang originally appeared in this book right here, Marvel Premiere number 47. So again, it's like a split persona type of thing, or a split first appearance situation. Then she would kind of take up her superhero identity as Stature in Young Avengers 6. And then finally, kind of where she is now, she would take up the mantle of Stinger, which is kind of like the iconic look that we saw in the trailer, which is her in her purple kind of Ant-Man outfit. Now, there is another first appearance of Stinger. We don't really need to get into that. That's like an alternative reality or a different multiverse or whatever. But generally speaking, I consider Astonishing Ant-Man number 6 to be the kind of the go-to book if you want to own the first appearance of this character. And this is one of those books that you would think is kind of in that sweet spot to get FOMO bought in. It's like a $20 minor key. And we saw a handful of sales, but nothing crazy. I mean, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 sales overall. We did get a 9.8 sale for $175. If we jump in here to the prices on Go Collect, $175 is, pretty much in line to what it's been selling for recently. We had a $200 sale just before that. So generally speaking, not too much FOMO buying into this book either. Similarly with Young Avengers number 6, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sales. 6 sales as well. So both of these books getting 6 sales. Again, you would think that with the appearance of kind of like Cassie Lang at stature, when people see, oh, she's in her uniform now in the purple aesthetic, you would have that kind of FOMO buy, especially when it's like a $20 key. But we really didn't see it overall. I mean, let me know what you guys think. I mean, do you think a lot of these purchases are happening off of eBay? Do you think that people are just kind of over the whole spec chase thing? I would think that we would still be getting it because of the fact that, when we got the Werewolf by Night trailer, I mean, people went absolutely insane for Man-Thing and Elsa Bloodstone. So we're not really seeing it here with this trailer as well. Of course, there's a couple other books I just want to quickly talk about. Tales to Astonish number 44. It does feel like Janet Van Dyne is going to have a pretty significant role in this movie, and it feels like this might be an interesting book to keep our eyes on. Again, this is one that is also an expensive book, so it's sort of hard to FOMO buy this one. It also has a pretty low census overall. I mean, generally speaking, maybe people don't send it in to be graded as much, but I have to imagine that back in the day, this was not a book that sold a lot. Tales to Astonish probably was the worst performing of the titles that Marvel had. We did have one sale right here for a beat up copy, $200 as a buy it now. It does feel like that's the type of thing that, people might FOMO into. You can't FOMO into a $400 purchase. $200, I think, kind of is the kind of ceiling range for a lot of people to spend money on a whim. Here we have Incredible Hulk number 156. This is a book that cooled off quite a bit. It's the first appearance of Krylar. Krylar apparently is the character that Bill Murray is playing. We did see Bill Murray in the trailer, but this character is a very obscure character, has only made one appearance ever, and it was in this specific Incredible Hulk book. We did see a handful of sales for this one overall. We got one. Here's a lot here of 3 of them. 2, 3, 4, 5, and we got 5 books overall. So again, not too much. This is like more akin to sort of what we saw with some of the other situations when we got the announcements at San Diego Comic-Con, and we got the announcement of, okay, like here's the Thunderbolt roster and US Agent is going to be part of that. And we saw like a handful of them, but there's nothing similar to what we're getting with like, say, Red Hulk when we got that tease in She-Hulk, or other sort of characters that really blew up the market. And I think that has a lot to do with the trailer overall. There definitely wasn't a big surprise in the trailer. There was a lot of things that I think were things that we could have expected, but I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that this is kind of where we bring it back to the overall topic of the conversation, which is this idea of, I think the market is really settling. I don't know if the FOMO purchases on trailers are going to have the same effect anymore. I think that the way in which we want to invest in books or spec on books or capitalize on equity in books, I don't think it's going to be easy money to just be able to sell a book upon the trailer drop anymore. I think in this market, it's really about making your money when you buy. It's really about finding those good deals. If you're out there in the wild, you're treasure hunting, you find those books that have instant equity the time in which you buy it, and then it's up to you when you want to sell it, whether it has to do with a trailer drop, whether it has to do with a movie drop, or if you just instantly want to put it on eBay because you found it for half price. That's really how a lot of this the market is going to be able to kind of make that money or make that return on their investments overall. Other than that, of course, you're going to have to hold this book for the long term, because I think that if you're somebody out there who has an Avengers 8, when it's really going to hit peak prices is going to be around Kang Dynasty and Secret War. So you're going to have to hold your book and not necessarily, hope for the FOMO buys upon an Ant-Man trailer. But before I wrap up the video, I did kind of want to show just a couple other little things in case you guys are wondering. I thought that this was pretty cool overall. I've talked about these books a few times before. Fantastic Four annual number 25. This is the first cameo appearance of the Anachronauts, as well as the first, I guess you would call it, appearance, or maybe it's a cameo appearance of Chronopolis. This also leads into Avengers annual number 21. This is the Citizen Kang storyline. So we have part 3 right here, and then we have part 4, and this would be the first full appearance of the Anachronauts. You can see them all there on the cover. This will also be more details about Chronopolis. I kind of think that these books are pretty cool overall, especially with what we saw in the trailer. We didn't quite get details of who all those armed guards that were surrounding Scott Lang in the trailer, but wouldn't surprise me if they were characters like the Anachronauts. I think we know that the Micronauts are not allowable for Marvel to use, so I don't think that they will be using that name. So these are 2 interesting books. Again, I would not suggest you guys FOMO buy this one, not at all. These are just kind of cool books to have some cool covers that relate to, owning Chronopolis and the whole city. Of course, I think that it's pretty obvious that we're going to get Chronopolis in this movie, and they might likely be out there in the back bins, so that could be pretty cool if you come across them. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. What do you guys think? Did you guys enjoy the trailer? I did have one actually other little thing to say before I let you go. I don't know if anyone's watching at this point in the video, but I'm going to talk about it anyways. If you guys happen to see my pre-code horror Grail unboxing, I did talk about how I am writing a kind of Lovecraftian pulp adventure comic book, and I did just launch the Kickstarter pre-launch page. So if you're somebody out there who is maybe interested in a comic book of this nature and you feel like supporting, me and effectively supporting this channel, it's been a dream of mine to kind of write a comic book. I've kind of taken the plunge. The campaign will eventually launch in a few weeks, I think, hopefully is when I'll be able to get it up. But, if you're interested in a book like this, kind of Lovecraft, Agatha Christie, a little bit of Clue, a little bit Indiana Jones, a little bit horror, a little bit Doctor Strange, that type of thing. If you're feeling that, I will put a link in the description of the pre-launch page. Maybe give it a follow if you're interested, and you can kind of keep tabs on the campaign. Certainly, if you watch these videos, I will be talking about it many times over the course of the next few months. Anyways, that's all I got. Drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I'll see you in the next video.